Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Diamond Discussion. I am your host, Demetrius Woods, and today we're going to talk about playing to win versus playing not to lose. We'll answer the question of which college camp to attend, and we'll also go over my personal hot take of the month. Let's do it. All right, guys, so quick story time. As you can see, hopefully, there is a lovely glass of water right here in the shot. Okay. I asked my dad for some advice on the podcast. He thought it was great. First couple episodes have been really good, but he was like, "You sound a little parched." So you'll notice me drinking a glass of water probably throughout the show. You'll notice that it's going down periodically. That way I can satisfy my father's need of not sounding parched. So anyway, welcome back to another episode again. And I'm going to kick this one off with a Thanksgiving challenge for you and for me. I hope we'll follow along this together. And I dreamt this up a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of tampered with it a little bit. So I just wanted to see maybe if we can try it out, see what you think about it. So the first one is for Thursday on Thanksgiving Day. So hopefully you're watching this as it's come out. And so Thanksgiving Day would be tomorrow for you. And so this is one, whether you vocalize it or not, my hope and my challenge to you is that you will think of something, just one thing that you're thankful for everybody that you see on Thanksgiving Day. So every family member, even the crazy uncle and the loud aunt, right? Everybody in the family, think of one thing that you're thankful for them, and I want you to look at them. I want you to see them in that light all throughout the day tomorrow. Again, whether you vocalize it to them or not, take a look at them in that light and see where that goes for you. For Friday, I got a love-hate relationship with Black Friday shopping, and I'll table that one for a second. But here's the thing, and mainly it's because it's like, oh man, we're thankful for everything on Thursday, and then it's like, let's go out and buy all the things on Friday, right? Because they're on sale. But anyway, so on a day where most of us, let's be honest, on Black Friday, we're going out and we're focused on, checking off the sale list or going out and staying within our budget or not, blowing it up. Either way, we're thinking inward typically, right? We're focused on things and things that we can get for ourselves and our family and me, us. And so on a day like that, my challenge to you is to go out and be kind to a stranger, do something nice for a stranger, somebody that you don't know, whatever that may look like. There's a million examples of what that could look like while you're out Black Friday shopping, but that's my Friday challenge for you. Okay, Saturday is another day of shopping. It's Small Business Saturday though, and there's tons and tons and tons of small businesses across the country that we can potentially support. And whether you're a coach, player, parent, whatever, whether or not you have the finances or not to go out and support a small business that way, you can still give them a plug on social media, shout them out to a family member or friend to have them go shop with them. But go check out some of your local businesses and see what they have to offer, aside from just going to the mainstream conglomerates out there, so to speak. All right. Sunday's challenge is the one I'm personally most excited about, and because I'm going to be doing this alongside you guys. Hopefully, some of you will join me. I've already since talked to you some of you rather since this recording, and you guys are going to be jumping on board. So Sunday, my challenge to all of you is to start day one of a gratitude journal. And for me, I think about a gratitude journal. This doesn't have to be anything that's completely elaborate and long and drawn out. It can just be one thing that you're grateful for each and every day. And my challenge to you is that you will commit to it throughout the entirety of the rest of the year. So that would be 36 days. All right, that would be 36 days remaining in 2023, and I hope that you'll do that, because I think doing something like that has a lot of positive effects to it, right? I think it gives us that opportunity to think about the positive aspects of life, right? Which is great, right? But it also, I think it gives us the opportunity to notice and appreciate the little things in life. And we've had this conversation a little bit over the last couple of episodes, about appreciating the small things and having that attitude of gratitude. And you'll probably notice that that is a very much a common theme for me, and I'll always be willing to share that mentality with all of you. So, that's one thing I want us to do, and I think again on the gratitude journal, it'll give us a chance to reflect back on the beautiful things in life when some of those days come around where it's not too kind to us. So that is my challenge to you guys. Whether you decide to go through with it or not leaves to be announced. But again, I think that it would be a phenomenal thing to do together, and I would love to hear feedback as we go through that. So I'm gonna take a quick break and shout out one of our sponsors real fast, as we always do, and we'll be right back and jump right into the next topic. See you a second. Hey guys, just wanted to shout out one of our sponsors, Hike the Mountain, led by Jay Thompson. He just returned off the Appalachian Trail last week, and one of his biggest quotes right from his website says, "Life is an incredible journey, and we've got to be willing to embrace the peaks and the valleys that come our way." And what Jay does is he takes companies, he takes individuals, and he shows them how to embrace those peaks and valleys each and every day. If you want to learn more about how this works, take a look at hikethemountain.org. Thank you. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm going to jump right into my personal hot take of the month. And these hot takes are going to be a little bit controversial, give us something to debate about throughout the week as we go. So my first one of this month here is I think home runs sometimes can be a bad thing depending on the timing for the offense, that is. Okay, now, again, don't crucify me for that right now. But hear me out for a second. I've seen a lot of it happen, actually, with my team. I've seen it happen with teams that we're playing against. And a home run at the beginning of the game, first inning, a girl drops a bomb, right? And then what I've seen happen is a team will just kind of rest on their laurels a little bit, and they'll hold on to that 1-run lead or maybe that 2-run lead or whatever for a few innings, and then what happens? Fifth or sixth inning rolls around. Somebody boots a ball, right? Now we got a runner on first base. Okay. They bunt her over to second base. Runner on second, one down. Somebody flies the ball out to right field. Now she's moved to third base on the tag up. And then boom, base hit. And all of a sudden, we're a little tight again, right? So again, maybe it is hot take. Maybe it's not for you. I would love to hear the coaches on this one, but that's a situation where I feel like it can be a little damaging for the team that hit it. And I think it also gives the defense the opportunity to hit that reset button a little bit, right? Because I like, for me personally, as a coach, as an offensive-minded coach in some cases, I like to nickel and dime a team. Like, give me a single here, give me a double here, a walk, a bunt, a triple, another single. We're nickel and diming the whole time, right? And we're constantly putting that pressure on the defense to make a play with runners on base, which is kind of a daunting task sometimes when you've got to think about the batter and you got to think about the runners on base, knowing where to go and all that jazz. But somebody drops a bomb, boom, that clears the bases, and that defense is, again, taking that little sigh there and going, all right, fine, that happened, whatever, she got a hold of one, now let's go to work. So I'd like to hear y'all's feedback on that a little bit. That's one that I kind of go back and forth on some. Another thing on that, I guess, is that I look at, I think about this for a second. I look at the batter that comes up after the home run was hit, and this always makes me laugh in my head. I don't laugh totally on the field about it, but with some of my players that I've coached over the last few years, right? So what happens is that the girl crosses home plate, stomps her foot on the home plate or whatever. Everybody's cheering. It gets loud. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. And everybody's making their way back to the dugout, except the person coming up to bat next, right? And especially when there's no outs. Person comes up to bat next, and 9 times out of 10, it's just kind of that awkward, like, what do you want me to do, coach? Like, you know what I mean? It just gives that vibe sometimes And I've caught myself saying as a coach, like, pretend that never happened. Right? That's what I'll tell the player that's up to bat next. Like, listen, you're a leadoff hitter right now. That never happened. Clear your head. Let's rock and roll. So, that's kind of my way of trying to help that player dial it back in. And also a reminder, like, you do not need to go back and hit. We don't have to have back-to-back home runs. All that would be cool and fun. But we don't need back-to-back home runs right now. Just I need you to focus on the planet head, and we'll go from there. So again, it's always that funny moment there, and then also with the person who hit the home run, their very next at bat. I love to run the numbers on how often that's a fly out or a pop up, right? And so the mentality typically should be going into that very next at bat. Just giving a little tip here is to hit the ball hard, barrel it up, no matter what. And if that yields another home run for you, fantastic. If not, no big deal. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had a player. We call her WAP. Her name's Avriana. But man, WAP drilled one over the fence, no doubt about her. It was actually her very first one of her career, which was exciting. And so she's coming around the base pads, like feeling good. Everything's great, right? And next at bat, now, granted, I don't know what she was thinking next at bat at all, but she gets up there, y'all. Okay, pitcher's struggling a little bit, and WAP has a 3-0 count, right? So I'm going through my signs, right? And my signs concluded with, hey, let's take the next pitch because it's a 3-0 count. I'm not giving her the green light in this situation just because it's still, kind of early in the game, whatever, right? This joker, fourth pitch of the at bat, boom, strokes a bomb over the left field wall, over the scoreboard, actually, for her second home run ever of her career on a 3-0 pitch. And so obviously she completely missed the take sign there, but I had to tip my hat to her because, hey, I mean, you just dropped another bomb. So anyway, so my point in saying that is that sometimes players defy the odds of, that second at bat being one that's a little bit more wasted. But she came back up ready to yak and go. And so even on a 3-0 pitch. So anyway, shout out to WAP on that front. But like I said, I love to hear y'all's feedback on just that hot take and how home runs, can be a little bit of a detriment to an offense or kind of, it almost like feels like it caps off the run of the inning. Because it allows the defense to reset a little bit. So anyway, give me your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear that. All right. So next thing I want to talk about here is playing to win versus playing not to lose. And this is one where, in my mind, guys, you think it and you do it, right? You mentally prep for it, and then you just go for it. You go get the job done. And so as a coach, there's a couple of things that I think that we can do to make sure our players know that we're being aggressive, we're playing to win, we're wanting to put them in the best position possible to, quote unquote, what I call do damage versus just hold on for dear life. And one of those things that I know that I like to do is I like to, on offense specifically, I like to apply as much pressure on on a defense as I possibly can. And one of the ways that I know to do that is to be aggressive with our base running. And every player that I've ever coached knows this, is that I'm going to force that catcher to make a play. I'm going to force that pitcher to think about us. I'm going to force that outfielder, that infielder, I'm going to force them to get rid of the ball quick, right? Because we're trying to not just steal bases. It's not about that because you got to have the right personnel, right, to just do straight steals. But we're going to take that extra bag, right? If we get walked, like in our minds, a walk is a sprint. That's a 60-foot sprint, and you see what happens. Now, it may look goofy, right? But who cares? Because if that ball skips away from the catcher, I expect you to be on second base for a walk, right? So it's doing things like that. It's the single that gets through the 5-6 hole out to the left fielder, and she's being a little bit, chill, lackadaisical about it. You're giving me a hard turn around first base. She's lobbing the ball into the shortstop to cut it off, and whatever. They're all kind of chill about it, and here you are sliding into second base, and we're all jazzed up about it, right? So again, it's as a coach, we're trying to be aggressive with that. Another way to me is to play small ball. Now, every player I've ever coached, again, knows that I love to play small ball. I love because it's such a fun part of the game for me. Everybody can't hit home runs. Okay, everybody's not gonna have the opportunity to, hit a double off the wall even, or and some players aren't gonna have a lot of triples in their career either, right? So there's the loud, noisy, way to get on base, right, with extra base hits. But to me also, and some of my players can back me up on this, I think small ball can cause a ton of chaos for the defense. And I've had some elite speed that I've gotten the opportunity to coach. One of the actually the very first player that I helped get into college for softball way back in 2020 now. Tabitha Mims actually is her name, but we call her Tab. And it was spring season, and she'd gone through this slump a little bit, just kind of we're trying to figure out what's going on. And lo and behold, she couldn't see actually. So she gets glasses, she gets contacts or whatever. But during that stretch where we were realizing that she couldn't see too well and she wasn't making good contact, and it wasn't like she was having a bad approach at the plate or she had terrible pitch selection. She was just missing the ball by this much a lot, right? And she was a pivotal piece to our lineup. So we're like, we can't be doing that a whole bunch more, right? So we talked about, the idea of bunting. We work on it in practice. And I kid you not, guys, Tab was one that would lay a bunt down. It could be a bad bunt, like back to the pitcher bad. And this joker's still safe on first base. And I can't even believe I'm saying this. For so long, Tab has been the fastest player I've ever coached. And I still want to believe that Tab is the fastest player I've ever coached. But man, if I'm putting together a top 5 right now, in no particular order thus far, I'm going, and for those of you who are close to our Elite Diamond softball program, I'm going, again, no particular order, I'm going Tab, Rain, Rope, Aaron, and Sky. That would be my top 5 right now. And but all of them could lay down a bad bunt and get on base. And a good bunt, you just put that ball in your pocket and go. All right. But here's my point. Sorry, I got off topic there a little bit. But my point is that with that kind of elite speed, that puts so much pressure on a defense, especially if you got other people on base. And so in my mind, as a coach, I'm looking to get 2 bags out of every bunt. Somebody's getting 2 bags, whether it's the batter runner or the runner on, runners that were already on base. But again, that causes so much chaos because I've seen time and time again, somebody turns, throws the ball to first base, second baseman's there, maybe she's not, ball gets thrown into right field, that batter runner is standing up on third base, no problem, and the bases are cleared, right? Or, just something of that nature happening. So again, I think small ball can cause a lot of chaos, and it's incredibly important part of the game too, in my opinion. So I love that piece of the game. And I think it can really apply that pressure. And I think again, it's one way to play to win versus playing not to lose. Now, as a player, when I'm talking to the players as well, I think one way to play to win is to, for example, dive for that ball that maybe others wouldn't. Right? That's you laying out. That's you not being cautious. Okay? Because if you don't dive for it, it's a single. Right? If you do dive for it and you catch it, we're submit that thing to Sports Center top 10, right? But if you dive for it and you miss it, it's a triple, maybe even an inside the park home run, depending on if your outfield mates are backing you up or not, right? So here's my point: playing not to lose is just pull up the brakes, right? Keep it in front, boom, we're good. But a mentality of playing to win allows you to lay out for that ball and go get it. I think another example would be catchers out there who don't get as much love as I think you should. So all catchers all over the world, kudos to you for being awesome. But catchers, make that snap throw to first or third before the coach dials it up. If you see that runner taking that extra step and a half on you every single time, go get her, man. Go get her. Go get him. Make sure he knows what's coming. Okay, and I think about a player, man. I'm gonna miss her to death when she graduates in May of next year. But Coco, she is one. If you're close to our softball program, she's one not to mess with at all. Because the second time she sees you take that extra step, she's looking down there, all right, and she's just baiting. That's all she's doing. Okay, and it's at this point, it's in your best interest for the batter to make contact with the ball. Okay, because if the batter doesn't make contact with the ball and that ball ends up in her mitt, you're done. All right, either she's hitting you in the back and you're going to be out because you're hurt for a little bit, or you're just going to be out because she snapped throwing you down and you're done for the day. So again, be willing to do that, and I think the player coach relationship in this conversation is so incredibly important because as a coach, you have to be able to give your players enough rope, right, to be willing to make those plays, right? I think that you got to give them that rope to do something awesome, because you don't want your players, you don't want your outfielders playing with their backs on the fence all game, right? Because they're giving up a lot of singles by doing that. Like, okay, sometimes there's gonna be a situation where I'm like, hey, back up, don't get beat deep, no dubs, and usually that's just with 2 outs that I'll do that, and I want to make sure we keep everything in front in a tight game. But so there's scenarios where we want to be cautious, obviously, but for the most part, play to win. And as a coach, I say, you know what, man, be willing to let your players take risks, right? Be willing to let your players take risks so that they can find out just how great they can be. And I think that's important because we don't want players just out here playing, station to station, just, baby softball, man. Go get it. Go all out. Have fun with the game. Same thing on the guys' side, man. On the baseball field, go absolutely get it. Go absolutely get it. I mean, I tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've seen players that I've gotten an opportunity to coach. They will lay out for the ball, okay, or they'll make that extra play, or they'll do the extra thing, and they won't think twice about messing it up per se, because they know I'm not coming at them. I'm not coming down their throats for giving that extra effort, right? So again, I think that player coach dynamic is really, really important when it comes to playing to win versus playing not to lose, and you'll kind of see that identity reveal itself typically as you face certain opponents. So hope that resonates with you guys on that front. We're going to take one more quick break, actually second quick break, before we jump into our next topic, which is going to be some very good, I think, open book segment questions. But let me give me a second here. I'm going to share one of our sponsors with you guys, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, thanks for pausing again. I wanted to shout out one of our sponsors, FlowSpace. This is where our incredible podcast is being recorded each and every single week. This place promotes so much flexibility and creativity for all the entrepreneurs out there. So if you're looking for a meeting room, a place to hold your event, or just a place to come hang out with a group of fellow business partners, FlowSpace is a place to be. Go check us out on goflowspace.com. Thank you. Okay, guys, this has become one of my favorite segments, as I kind of expected, because it's you providing questions for me to answer that other people may be thinking, or maybe they're not thinking about it, and it's something that's a little bit more intriguing. So I love our open book segment so far. Thank you all so much for submitting all of your responses. To date, we're over 50 questions, requested, and so some of them are kind of the same, but thank y'all again, and I'm going to continue jumping these off on the episode and seeing if we can answer as many as I possibly can. So this first question for today, we got 2. First question for today is from Sydney L. And she says here, how do I choose which college camp to go to? Well, you guys know my favorite question. Why? It's also my daughter's favorite question too. But why are you going? Right. Well, I think one reason to go is to learn a new skill, which I think is a great reason to go to college camp. The minds of these college coaches, it's incredible, and some of the drills that they are able to conjure up and to be able to implement into their practices, implement into their camps with younger athletes, I think is great. So if you're going out there, you're going out there to learn new skills and to see what you can do on that front. I think that's a great idea, a great reason to go. I think another reason to go obviously is to be recruited by the host school or a college coach that may be in attendance, or a college coach that knows somebody kind of thing that may be in attendance. Again, that's a great reason to go. And then the third reason to go, which absolutely nothing wrong with this at all, is simply for the t-shirt and a photo op, right? So I think those are good reasons to go. There may be others out there. So with that being said, here's some things to consider, Sydney. One, you got to consider your budget. Okay, I think this is obviously very, very important. You don't want to burn up your family's pockets or even your own pockets if you're paying for it every summer. But if you've got a $600 budget every summer for softball camps, maybe that's going to pay for 4 camps. Maybe that pays for 5 or 10 camps. Maybe that pays for 1. So again, your budget can kind of dictate what that looks like. But I think that if you are choosing to go again to learn a new skill, for more than just the photo op, I would say, then I definitely think the 2 things. One, the expected player coach ratio, it should be really important to you, because if it's a 3-hour clinic, 4-hour clinic, or whatever, and the player coach ratio is like 1 to 40, that's tough. That's really tough, right? That's a lot of campers, and so how much one-on-one time, if any, are you going to get with that college coach, or is the one-on-one time important to you? Right? I think that's the thing to consider as well. Right? If you're down for the group activities, if you're down just to be in the environment of that thing, then that's fine. Maybe the player coach ratio isn't as important for you. And I've actually seen some schools do a phenomenal job, even with a lot of players out there. But again, the ratio is more like 1 to 10, 1 to 15, player coach wise. I think another thing to consider is the reputation of the camp, right? So you've got people who have gone to the camp in the past, who can kind of reflect for you, give you their word of mouth. I think the strongest form of advertisement, in my opinion, is word of mouth, right? People that you trust, you've got some rapport with them already, and you respect their opinion, and vice versa. So, I would say, Sydney, consult some of those people that who have gone to this camp already, and just see what they say about it. Or go online and check out some of the reviews for that specific camp, and go from there. So I hope that helps you on that front. And then, of course, a pro tip that I'm going to give you just simply is to make sure that you reach out to the college coaches that are going to be in attendance prior to arriving. Similarly to how I feel about the showcase tournaments that you may go on with your respective travel ball teams, you should treat the showcase camp, even though it's an individual camp, you should treat it the exact same. Do the legwork on the front end and get legwork done on the back end, so that obviously you can maximize the opportunity. Okay. So next question from Jeremy B. Jeremy B says, what's it like being a former player and now coach and referee? Has it helped or hurt you? And so for those of you who don't know, I did play baseball in the past. I coach softball and baseball now, and then I referee high school basketball. I umpired baseball for a little bit while I was in college, but my refereeing side of things comes on the basketball side. So, Jeremy, that's a good question. Really good one. So I think that as a coach, it's helped me understand my limits with umpires while I'm on the ball field. I think, and that's obviously very, very important. And so it's understanding my limits. It's understanding what buttons to push and when to push them. But it's also allowed my I like to think that I'm charismatic in some cases. And so it's allowed that to kind of shine a little bit more as well, because just building that rapport with the umpire is so important. Like I implore our catchers to do that. I implore our pitchers to do that, and of course I do it as well. I try to set that tone at the plate meeting right away. That I'm kind of a goofy guy anyway, to be honest with you. But on the field, I try to set that tone of just you know fun loving, just a good coach, a good guy as well. So with the umpire, so I think it helps me on that front as a coach. I think that it also gives me the opportunity to lean into the fact that the opposing coach may be nutting up a little bit, right? Like going crazy. And I'm not like, nudging the umpire being like, man, that guy's off the walls. Like, what are you gonna eject him or what? Like I'm not antagonizing or, trying to instigate by any means. But what I do though is I make sure that my team is prepared to take advantage of that. And what I mean by that is we're giving that extra hustle because that bang bang call might go our way because he or Mr. Ump or Mrs. Ump is not very pleased with the other side. Not that the umpires make calls based on feelings, because I'm a referee, we don't do that. However, that bang bang play though, if it's tight and if it's close, and if you're maybe not sure, you're probably going to lean one way or another on that front, right? So again, you taking advantage of those types of opportunities, I think is important. But on the flip side of that, just this is part of the downside of it, is that because I'm a referee, I have a very high expectation for umpires. Meaning that if I expect as a coach, I expect the ump to show up to the ball field ready to go, locked in and focused to get the job done, right? And because I expect that, I expect excellence. And when excellence does not reveal itself, then that doesn't make me very happy. So, speaking of those buttons to push, I will push buttons on purpose, and typically only thing that does, obviously, as I just alluded to with the opposing coach, is that provides a little bit more adversity for my team, and I'm okay with that in some cases. I'm okay putting that on my girls' shoulders or on my guys' shoulders to basically what most people say. Oh man, we got to play 9 plus 2 more, or we got to play 11 today, or whatever people say. But either way, I'm okay with that at times. One, just to send a message to my team, but also to prove a point to the umpire that, hey, you're not doing your job today. You need to lock in. So I've only been ejected once, by the way, and that was my very first tournament ever coaching travel ball. So since then I've been a relatively good guy. So, but on the other side of that, Jeremy, I guess I would share with you that as a referee, which first of all, I love refereeing basketball because just everything happens so fast. It's just a fun game to officiate. But as a referee, though, I've developed a ton of patience when it comes to connecting with players and coaches, and then also it's allowed me to be even more patient in my day to day life because of it. So, I think that's one area that I love the most about being an official, is that my people skills have grown a lot. And again, I can be patient with people, let them have their piece, let them have their moment of frustration or disagreement or whatever. Because again, discourse, there's nothing wrong with discourse by any means, right? Coach has a question, player has a question. You come with me with respect, I'll treat you the same way, and we'll see if we can get the right call made, right? And I think the only time that doesn't, that discourse kind of goes off the rails is when, coach is trying to show you up as an official and make a scene for the whole crowd, which has happened before, and it'll happen again. And then that's when you just, you give them the boot and make sure they're going to the showers early. So, but anyway, it's been a big help for me, seriously. And I've enjoyed being in all three sectors, so to speak, because as a player, we look at the game in a very specific way. I know that I'm as dialed in as I am as a coach. I'm even more dialed in as a player, which is hard to believe because I am so locked in as a coach. But even as an official, man, like just my I'm dialed in, but I'm not. I don't have tunnel vision though. My awareness of my surroundings and my awareness of the entire field or the entire court is expanded typically when I'm a referee. So again, Jeremy, I can go on and on about that one, man, but it has actually helped me a lot being able to be in all three seats. And honestly, I would encourage every coach to be a referee or an umpire at some point, just to see how it feels to get chewed on a little bit. So it's always good. So um, those were the two great questions. Thank you, Sydney and Jeremy. We're gonna take one more break before we wrap up the show. I'm gonna come back and give you one quick tip before my thought you should know moment, and we'll get you guys out of here and have a happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you in a second. All right, guys. Last pause for the day. I wanted to shout out our sponsor, Impact Financial Alliance. And one of the concepts that I want to talk about real quick is a concept that we call living benefits. And this is surrounding the life insurance world. And most people know life insurance to be something that only pays when we die. There's also a concept, again, called living benefits that pays out if we suffer critical, chronic, or even a terminal illness. So if you don't have the proper type of life insurance, check us out at impactfinancialalliance.com and be willing to call the number on the website. Thank you. Okay, guys, welcome back. Before I go into this last little tip, I want you guys to check out this glass of water if you're watching on video, and give my dad a hand clap of praise for being right about my voice and not sounding parched today. I hope I don't sound parched because I've obviously been drinking some of his water that he so politely suggested. Anyway, tip to taking care of your glove is what I want to talk about, because and this isn't because I've seen anything wrong with anybody's glove necessarily, but I know as it gets colder and colder and the year kind of winds down, like the wear and tear on it is just a real thing. So one thing I always would do is, when I'm not using my glove, when it's not in use, or when it's stored away kind of in my backpack or wherever it may be, like throw a ball in there and get you a rubber band, wrap that around it, just so that it keeps that form, for you. I think it's also good to tighten those laces up monthly. I think about the amount of games that some of our players play, like travel ball wise. We play 90 plus games, sometimes even touching 100, and throughout a calendar year span. And then they also play school ball, getting 25 to 30 more games. So, you're playing over 100 games, well over 100 games usually throughout a calendar year. Definitely good, monthly to tighten those laces, making sure that you don't have, a lot of spaces in the fingers and stuff like that. So I think that's good. I think it's good to completely relace your glove after like once a year even. And I know that may seem like much, but I think that's a good idea, especially again, if you're playing, upwards of 100 games per year. That's a lot of wear and tear, especially depending on your position, right? If you're an infielder, but even outfielders, I think it's good to relace that or relace it as needed. Okay, so if you see that something's going on there, don't just kind of let that linger until you end up with a hole in your glove and you boot a ball, you make an error. Because sometimes the error is not on you, it's on your glove. Now, I don't want to hear my players making that excuse a whole bunch, because I think that it's equally, or it can be rather, equally as important, taking care of your equipment as you going out just to get some reps and things like that. So I think that's an important thing to note. And then also, this is one that I wasn't going to mention, but I think using some type of like oil or conditioner for your glove is good. Now, you don't want to turn it into a greased pig, right? But and that's why I didn't want to mention it, because I know some of our younger players are going to go out there and they're just going to lather it on. And it's going to be a big oily mess. Like, I think a little bit. I remember my elementary school teacher actually, one of them telling me, "Hey, Demetrius," or actually she wouldn't point me out, but she'd tell the class, she'd say, "Hey guys, a dot does a lot," and she was referring to glue, right? Whenever we'd use glue on art projects and stuff, So I feel the same way about the oil use for your glove, like just a little bit, a little dab here or there, just to make sure that it's not cracking and it's not getting too dry or whatever. And of course, we want to keep it out of extreme conditions, especially when not in use. Like, don't leave it out in the garage. Don't leave it out, outside. Put it in a safe space so that you know, it can last long, right? We don't need to be switching gloves every single year because a relacing kit costs a few bucks at the sporting goods store, but a brand new glove can be rather expensive. So, anyway, that's my tip on that. And as we wrap up here, guys, I want to give you guys just a quick thought you should know thing or two. And so today I've got one for you, and I saw this earlier this week, and this is a quote by Dalai Lama, and it says, "There are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is yesterday, and the other one's called tomorrow." And the reason I wanted to share that with you guys is because, to me, guys, I'm always looking for the positive things in life. My wife reminds me of that a lot. I'm a bit of a positive Patty, which can be a good thing most of the time. But I think that quote right there about Dalai Lama is just a simple reminder of staying in the present moment, and just also simply making the most of today, right? Because one, here's the reality: yesterday is history, and tomorrow isn't promised to us, right? So don't allow the stresses of tomorrow overwhelm you, and don't just constantly reflect on yesterday's mishaps or whatever. Like, live in the moment, live in today. So whatever you got going on today, go grind it out. Keep going after your goals. Keep being great. Keep being awesome. I appreciate all of you guys for listening to me just talk and ramble on about just random stuff around this game. I hope this inspires you, encourages you, challenges you in some way. So please, at some point, if you haven't already, would love to hear your feedback on just anything that has touched you and has resonated with you over these first few episodes. With that being said, I'm going to sign this thing off and get you guys out of here. So at the end of the day, guys, let all you do be done in love, because that is truly what makes the world go round. Thank you.